Hi, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm so happy to have some time with you this morning. For those of you that are regulars, you know that Thursdays are when we share the mic now with Black women in our community so that we can amplify their stories. And it's been my great pleasure to speak to so many amazing women around us. And today is another great conversation. We've been trying to organize this one for a while, so I'm so glad that we are finally together. I want to introduce you all to Cheryl Walker-Robertson. Cheryl Walker-Robertson. I knew that. Of Protocol International. Want to tell you a little bit about her. Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So let me tell our viewers a little bit about you. As I said, Cheryl Walker-Robertson is the founder and CEO of Protocol International. It's a professional behavior and interpersonal skills development consulting firm. She is dedicated to helping executives, entrepreneurs, and aspiring professionals enhance their soft diplomacy skills and improve their personal brand. For more than 2 decades, Protocol International has designed and implemented communication and leadership training programs, moderated panels, activated tours, and served as a brand ambassador. Some of her clients have include, I should say, Prudential, Pepsi, U.S. Embassy, Viacom, to name just a few, and there's many, many more. She has helped her clients learn to be more confident and courteous and strategic in social situations for their businesses. She is the best-selling author of Rules of Engagement, How to Win at Dining with Clients and Other Important People. She is the co-author of The Power of Civility, The Secrets of Social Capital, and upcoming is Power of Etiquette, The Essentials to Building Rewarding Relationships with Confidence and Grace. She is considered a thought leader in her field, and Ms. Walker-Robertson is a contributing writer to various international trade and business publications and is frequently the protocol expert for several organizations, blogs, podcasts, webinars, and appears frequently on podcasts and youth programs. And I'd say I met Cheryl through really, which was a wonderful experience for me to partake in through our joint shero, I believe probably both of ours, Miss Natalie McKenzie, who had a beautiful her whole woman event. And that must have been almost 2 years ago now, thinking about or was it last year? It might have been last year. That was last year. It was a year ago now. In January, I believe it was actually just a year ago. And it was a beautiful event, but one of the pieces that made it so special, and which is kind of, you would think, surprising because it was a virtual event. And so a lot of virtual events don't always feel so special, but she really made it special, thought of so many details. And one of the details she thought about was bringing Cheryl in to take this Tea Party theme of the event and talk about tea and etiquette and social skills and graces, all of what she's all about. So I was so taken with you and your presentation and that day, and I had it in my head all of this time. So I'm so glad that you're finally here. So welcome.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful, so happy to be here with you.
So this is a unique business that you're in. There's so many things I want to jump into to talk about, but tell us a little bit about how you got into this business, because when people are kind of growing up and thinking about careers, this is so specific, and how does one fall into this real like niche kind of work?
Yeah, fall into is the key word there. Honestly, Helen, I was quite a tomboy, a jock when I was growing up. So I went to college on a basketball, volleyball scholarship, and all up to that point, I was just, a boy. I did all the things my brothers and my boy cousins did. And my mother was, just like, oh my God, I got to do something about this. And so she put me into all these charm schools and etiquette classes. And back in those days, and I don't want to tell on myself too much, but those days, upscale department stores hosted etiquette classes and charm schools and things like that. And I was very tall and statuesque. And so they would choose me amongst all the others, to also be a model. So I got a chance to use those skills over and over again. But honestly, I hated it. My mother made me do this as opposed to going to basketball camp. I wanted to go to basketball camp. And so, I just did it because she made me. And that was many, many, many summers. And then I became a Pan American Airlines flight attendant, telling on myself again. And these skills kicked in a grand way. In addition to that, Pan Am, an international airline, and the American flag carrier, we got many choice assignments, which I always signed up for. And that's when these skills really kicked in. And I really understood how to use these skills and also how important it is to be considerate and thoughtful and to, help people to engage with you in a powerful way in a little bit of time. And it was, these skills that I learned. And I just continued to learn. I read every book I could get my hand on. I practiced everything that I studied. And then I found a school in Washington, which was meant for ambassadors and military wives, et cetera. And I begged the lady who ran the school to let me in. And that's when I really found out, this is some kind of secret society. These are some unwritten rules that nobody knows about, but that we're all judged on. And so once I graduated from the school, and mostly it was because I wanted to know, I wanted the secret to the lock, So once I found out it was a secret, and once I got a key to the lock, I just wanted to share it with as many people as I could. And that's just about when I started my business, Protocol International.
I mean, I love that journey of story, especially, we think about so many of us, are directed in our youth in one direction or another by our parents, and we, fight it, so much. Here, it ended up being the core of your future.
Yes. No one's more surprised than my mother, I guarantee you.
I love that. I love that. Here's, you said about this being, a secret society and how they're, like we are judged on this every day. And, we like to think that we're not I know so many of us like to talk about, being authentic and genuine, but there's still a reality. There's a reality of, we are judged on what people see and how we act, and that's how we're evaluated.
But this is anti-authentic, all that we profess in my industry is that you discover the best you and be the best you that you can be. Often people don't know what they don't know, and they don't understand what the expectation is depending on the situation, both social and professional. And so those of us in my industry, protocol, diplomacy, civility, we try to help people to understand how to be their best them and still be authentic, because you are good as you are. But why can't we take it up a notch if we understand the rules of the game? That's the thing. You won't find a basketball player showing up on the court with a football. They can't win like that. Yeah. Super Bowl coming, NBA All-Star game coming. But, we all have to understand what the tools are to win the game that we're in. And protocol and diplomacy and civility and behavior, they're one of those tools that you should have in your toolkit.
Absolutely. And so I know that you are often referred to as a protocol ambassador. That's your, the job title that goes with this, really unique, but so important, work that you do. So, thinking about our viewers who are out there, and just want to say to our viewers real quick before I finish this statement, we have put the link here to Protocol International website in the comments. So we encourage everyone to go check it out. I also encourage you to go check out Cheryl's social media, which is also linked to, at Protocol International. So I'm thinking about our viewers that may be, in a it's been a strange time, these
It
last
has.
2 years.
It
And
has.
when I think about so many of the skills that you're talking about and your training that brought you to a certain point, up until, March, I'd say 2020, when the world shifted so much.
Yeah.
How
Yes.
how do the skills and what have been doing as a career, for the majority of your work, how did that all shift and change when
Mm.
COVID hit and the world went virtual?
Yeah, I'm one of those businesses that got hit pretty hard, because most of my business was about getting on an airplane, going somewhere, traveling, getting in front of hundreds of people, shaking a lot of hands, eating a lot of meals in, beautiful restaurants. And, that was my existence. But when the COVID happened, all my clients called and canceled everything. My calendar cleared completely, immediately. We all thought that we would just move things back. But then as it continued, that business really never came back. So I pivoted like many other companies, and I'm doing a lot of training now virtually. And I must admit that my number one training course right now is called Zoom Protocol. How do we show up virtually? So a lot of people didn't really understand that you're still bringing your brand and you still have to bring your professionalism and all the things that you know about being in business. You still have to show up, even if it's in front of a computer screen. So many people are rolling out of bed and just fluffing up their hair and sitting their computer somewhere in the bedroom with the bed unmade, and now they're Zooming with us. So a lot of clients are hiring me because this is also a strategy as to how you show up, how you look, how you present yourself. And now we all have to learn a new skill, all of us, as to how do we show up virtually. So that's been a plus, that I now have a new program, a new service to offer, and it's been virtually fantastic. Did you get
Well,
that joke, Helen? Did you get that joke?
I got the joke. I got the joke, and I love the joke. And I have to say, I love the pivot. The YWCA of Northern New Jersey works with so many small business owners, and we've been talking about this, obviously for the last 2 years, about how
Yes.
how small businesses and women-owned small businesses and women of color-owned small businesses have, been able to stay afloat during this time, and so many
Yes.
haven't been able to,
So many
unfortunately.
haven't. So many haven't.
But it's important to hear the success stories, because it does help inspire those that are still trying to figure it out. And
Right.
especially even new businesses. There's so many new businesses starting during this time
As a result, yes.
as well. And it
Yeah.
is amazing. And we work with so many job seekers. And
Oh,
job interviews are all happening, obviously, virtually now. We've been interviewing in our organization, for our open positions virtually as well. So when you think about the business owner, you think about the job seeker, someone who is hopping on their screen,
right.
to have their best day and their best image out there.
Yes.
What are some of the top things that you make sure to impart to your clients, as where they should focus?
Yeah, so I do individual training and I also do group training. So I have many, many leaders saying to me, I need my whole group, everybody, my whole staff, my executive team, everybody to understand, how to show up on Zoom. So we have a very formal presentation. It's very granular. I take you from A to Z about it. So I talk about your image and your brand and how important it is, and how you can really ruin your brand with one small mistake. A brand that you've been building for over 20 years, you can really ruin with one Zoom call. So first of all, I make them understand how important your brand is and how important this new format is to your brand. Also, you have to understand the technology a bit. You have to have the cameras and you have to have the sound, all that. You have to understand that I'm not just looking at you on the screen. I'm also looking at your beautiful curtains in the background. I'm looking at your artwork. I'm looking at the pictures on your desk and all those things. I'm taking all that in. I mean, honestly, I'm sitting in your living room with you right now, Helen. And so that's how I feel. And I'm not just, ignoring all these other symbols and all these other signs that you're giving me about who you are. And so why don't we control that a little better? I mean, what a great opportunity for us to give you the message that we want you to have. And so you really control that. Also, you want to make sure that you have agendas and that you understand how to use time. And if you're the leader of one of these calls, hosting one of these calls, how to make it engaging, how to make it fun, because people are burnt out with Zoom. So how do you make sure your calls are a little bit more different, a little bit more exciting, a little bit more lasting, and people are excited about getting on your Zoom call as opposed to dreading your Zoom call. So these are just a few tips, but all very important. I have hundreds of them, just around how to use filters, how to use backdrops, and how to decorate your square, how not to interrupt people, how to use the polls. All of these are great opportunities to show up amazing in this new format.
I love that. And it really just illustrates the importance of why people should engage you and, be learning more. Here we are 2 years in, and I still am almost daily on Zooms where people say, and I still haven't figured this thing out yet. You would think after all of this time, and, I myself and our tech person who works with us on YWTV can, attest to this. I myself had her teach me how to blur my background because, on the days, that I'm home versus in the office doing YWT.
Right.
I've got kids, I've got a dog, I've got a lot of stuff happening back there. Sometimes nothing I want anyone to
I'm glad you bring that up, because I think we also have to be a little bit more patient with each other. We have a little bit more empathy, even though I'm saying these are the same business rules that we should apply to our lives, even though we're doing it virtually. It is a little bit different because we do understand that we're home. And so we can't fault someone, the dog, runs, or the cat runs across the screen, or, the baby crawls into your screen. Like, we just make light of these things, even though we should be careful of them and that they don't happen at the wrong time too much. But we should also be compassionate. Like, yeah, my husband's back there watching sports, so I had to close the door so we don't hear what's going on the other side of the room.
Yeah, well, it is like a balance, right, of making us real, right, and kind of a genuine experience, but at the same time keeping it from like crossing the line into unprofessional. I know yesterday, as our YWTV viewers know, as we were launching into our show, and it was a really important show about human trafficking. We had a survivor on telling her story, and as we started, my dog would not stop barking. He would not stop barking, and I was
not like human trafficking, obviously.
No, I think he actually loved Gina Cavallo, who was our guest too. But he wouldn't stop, and so I was sitting here like waving my arm, trying to stay present because I'm live at that point. And so there is definitely those type of moments that pop up. Today he's locked in the basement with my husband. So we have so you learn, right? But it's definitely those moments pop up for sure, and having to navigate them gracefully is definitely something I'm sure that you help your clients with. So
grace.
One of the things
that's the word, grace.
Grace is definitely a word for this time for sure. One of the things I want to make sure that we talk about during our time together today, because I was so, personally, I'm a tea drinker and a tea lover and everything about the tea process. And, when I met you at, Natalie's wonderful event for her organization, she, it was a tea party, theme of the event. And then you, talked about tea. One of the things I was so struck with, obviously tea is something that I love and enjoy. And then as a result, I've learned to enjoy the pomp and circumstance that can be around celebrations, around traditions, and around tea. But you taught us, in a little class about really how to utilize tea, and it did make me think. And even earlier we were talking about how whether it's tea or a meal, or a coffee date, how they really can be instrumental in that relationship building, which is so key. In terms of work, in terms of everything that we do. So can you talk a little bit about your tea etiquette party, but then also how that extends into, other events like that, like meals
Yes,
and
yes,
coffee
yes.
dates and all of that.
Yeah, well, one of our programs is all about networking. And another one of our favorites, one of our staple programs is around networking. Another one is around how to finesse a business meal. And the business meal could also include tea. And these are really amazing times. So we have an opportunity to use these times to do things, whether virtually or live, in a more intimate way, because now we don't want to be with 25, 200 people in a room, So now I just invite you, Helen, out and I say, meet me at, and I'll find a perfect restaurant, my favorite. So when I walk in, they are very comfortable with me and they treat me like, the superstar that I want to be. And that is a reflection of my style, my personality when I invite you out. And so, again, I'm controlling my situation as best I can so that I can entertain you in a fine way. And these small details around how you show up, understanding, again, the rules of how do I host the tea? What time is tea typically? How should I invite someone? Who should approach the table first, me, my guest, or the maitre d'? And who should order first? And how do I help my guest be more comfortable? How can I be the best host that I can be? How can I be the best guest that I can be? Also, where should the spoon go when I'm not using it with the teacup? Should it go in the saucer? Should it go in the cup? Should it go back on the linen napkin? And what should I do with the napkin? When do I put the napkin in my lap? What do I have to do if I have to leave the table, but temporarily? What do I do with my napkin? What do I say to my guest? And then when I come back to the table, what should I do with my napkin? Then how do I re-enter the space? And then when the meal is over, what are the signals that I should be giving to both my guest and also the restaurant that the meal is over? And how do I pay for the bill when I don't want this going back and forth about who should pay for the bill? And oh, by the way, who should pay for the bill? These are all great questions. Some people may think they're small things, but people who understand the rules of the game, people who understand protocol, will understand that and that you're operating from a higher level. And that is the thing that gives us trust with one another. I trust you because I know you understand how to play the game. I can trust you because I know how you will conduct yourself appropriately, according to decorum and protocol and etiquette. Even if I don't know the rules, I see that you operate in a certain way, that you're comfortable in your space. There's a certain level of confidence and some kind of know-how that you have. I don't know what that thing is, but I like it and I want more of it. So that's why these skills and understanding these rules, that's why it's so important, because it's a very efficient way to build trust, to build a relationship, and to build your brand. I
Yes.
hope that answered your question. I hope that wasn't the wrong way.
It absolutely does. And I love how, it really, I think, brings home that, the work that you do is really not surfacey. It's really such a skill-based development that does help kind of put an aura around you of confidence, of know-how, of, as you said, operating on a higher plane, and that those things are just so very important for those of us that, whether you have a small business, whether you're in corporate America, even when you're, having a meeting with your child's teacher, and
Yeah.
wanting to convey, seriousness about, that experience, it's something that should be, harnessed in every aspect of our
Yes.
lives.
In other cultures, this is a given. And they teach this in primary school in other countries. Um, we used to do it. It's not so much now. And I think it could be the reason why we lack civility the way we used to, because we no longer teach, we no longer share, these types of values. So we talk about the art of fine dining, how do you eat? But it's not just about how you eat. It's about you being considerate and thoughtful when you're eating with other people. And
Mm.
so when I see that you lack in those skills, I also understand that you probably are lacking in other areas and may not understand how to conduct yourself in even more important situations than just us at dinner. So when you think about first impressions and how powerful that is, this is where it kicks in. When you understand how to be with other people, this is about how to be. It's about how to show up. It's about how to have people understand who you are in like 7 seconds.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and
And
that's
it's
why it's so important.
and I was going to say it's so true because those are hard perceptions to change once they're out there.
Oh yes. Oh yes. You get that first impression is lasting. So
Yeah.
if I see, in your first impression that you are amazing and that you're knowledgeable and that you're caring, you're empathetic, if I meet you the second time and you may be lacking some of those, I'll say, oh, she's having a bad day because she's really fantastic. But if those are the things I see the first time, and then I meet you the second time, and now you're wonderful and you're empathetic, I'll say, nah, I don't know, because that first impression, this one I'm seeing now is a little different than the person I met. And honestly, we get hung up on what people are saying when we're not in the room.
Mm.
So when you're not in the room and somebody says, give me 3 adjectives about Helen, you know, she's amazing. She has this great show. She's super open. She's a real giver. She's exciting. She has a lot of fun in her life. Those are great adjectives. By the way, those are the things I think about you. But that's what I take away, and that's what I'm going to share. And people say, I don't care what people say about me. Yes, you do, and it is important.
Yes. Yes. I do think I think you're right. As much as we like to think that we don't care, that there's actually a piece of it that we should, whether or not we, there is some boundary obviously we should have in terms of letting
Right,
it rule our lives when it's not
right,
healthy.
right.
But there
Of course,
is a piece of that that is healthy and
yes.
important in terms of success. For
Yes,
sure,
yes. If
for
you
sure.
depend on people, if you depend on people for your success, and we all do, we
Yeah.
can't. No man is an island on his own, so we have to depend on what other people say, what other people think, how other people feel, how we make other people feel,
Mhm.
and these are genuine things. This is about, not just that surface stuff. It's about your values. It's about what you think of the world and how you show up in the world and how important other people are to you and how you demonstrate that.
Yes.
So that's why the whole idea around civility is a big word now because so much is lacking in the world, and diplomacy. We don't just go at you, boom, 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 I want to fight. No, we have to figure out how to appeal to someone. And you have to use these diplomatic soft skills. They used to call them soft skills, but now
Yes.
they're diplomatic skills or they're power skills because they are so powerful and so important. But if there's nobody telling us how to use that, no one explaining to us what the rules are, how can you win?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. And, I just want to ask you before we, end our time together, because I
No, it's
think
not over already.
it goes so fast. I always say, I feel like sometimes I want to have like the next show and the next show like planned out.
Yes,
There's more to talk about. We are not done talking and we're not done working together for sure. But I want to ask you because,
yeah,
you're a woman-owned business, right? And
yes,
we know, I mean, and you're, obviously a Black woman-owned business.
yes,
Um,
yes,
um, we know that it's different for women and it's different for Black women, as being a business owner. And with that, the everything from the glass ceiling or, the racism that, one can encounter when, they're living your life experience versus the female piece, which we both share in terms of the glass ceiling issues.
yes,
What are some and obviously our viewers, there's more to learn by spending time with Cheryl, but
yes,
it would be great to be able to just hear from you like a quick thought on how to, how as a woman you had to navigate some of that in your workspace and developing your business, because I am confident because of the unfortunate realities, of our world that, that has been something you've had to deal with.
yes, yes. you know, it's almost like second nature. Guess what? I've always been a Black woman, always.
Yes.
And so you learn to navigate these things as second nature. I wasn't always an entrepreneur. I've been in a corporate environment, and it wasn't easy. In fact, part of the reason I decided to start my own company was because I wanted to control my environment a little bit more and my exposure and access a little better. When I was in corporate America, I was always pushed into a corner because I was the woman and because I was Black. And I always worked with people in the majority community, and typically mostly men. And so, because I was so competitive and because I was trying to win all the time, because my background is sales and marketing.
Mm.
And so they were always, second guessing me. They would always ask me more questions than they would the guys. Uh, I'm like a lot of women in corporate America where I say something at the board table, they don't hear me. But when the guy next to me repeats exactly what I said, it's a great idea because it came from him. So I got really tired of that. And that's really a good part of why I started my own company. And I think also, the skills that I talk about and teach and share is a great way to navigate racism, because if you show up understanding the rules of the game and knowing what is expected of you, even if you want to change the rules yourself, even if you want to change the game, you have to know what the rules are.
Mm.
So I must say that because of my profession and because of my knowledge around civility, around cultural competence, um, I've been able to navigate a little easier. And sometimes I can see it coming before it hits me, and I can sort of work my way around it because I understand it better. It's not that it doesn't also happen to me. I've
Mm.
gotten stopped by the cops like so many other Black people. But when he approaches my car, I may approach it a little differently with my diplomacy skills, with my negotiating skills. Yeah, he still stopped me because I was Black. He was, why was I in this neighborhood or whatever it was? But I'm able to, I think, disarm a lot of people because of this skill set. I don't know if that answers the question or
It,
not.
yeah, it does. And I appreciate you sharing that because I know so many, women and Black women and women of color, who are in the corporate environment, in their small businesses, are navigating, the kind of the gender inequities and the racial inequities that are around us. And
Yes.
obviously, at the YWCA, we want to support that kind of development and empowerment. And I do think the skills that you focus on are all about empowerment. I mean, they are
Yeah,
at the core of empowerment. So that's
absolutely.
also why I was so eager, to have you be part of this conversation and definitely part of further conversations for our organization. Cheryl, I am so grateful that you spent some
Oh,
time and gave us a sense of your business and your work, and
yeah.
as well as just your energy. And I
Thank you.
encourage all of our viewers again to follow Cheryl on her social media sites. You're on Instagram and
Yes.
Facebook.
Yes.
And you should go to Protocol International and follow her. Again, her website is here so you can learn more about the programs that she offers. She has so many different opportunities for you, whether you want to do it as a group or individually, to be able to develop the skill sets that she's mentioned here, whether it's something for the virtual world or in the in-person world. And, again, we could have talked forever, but
Indeed. Indeed.
Cheryl has so many great opportunities for businesses, nonprofits like ours that are doing virtual experiences to help make them a little bit different. And also for you to think about when you're having your, engaging folks through
Yes.
social media. So she's a wealth of information. I definitely encourage everyone to reach out and follow her. There's so many tidbits you could even learn just from following her social media. But obviously, being in her presence is a whole different bag. So
Yes.
it's definitely something you want to consider. So, Cheryl, thank you again so much.
Thank you, Helen. I'm so grateful.
And I look forward to more conversations. And
Yes, let's finish it.
and I have to ask you, when you go out to lunch with your friends, do they get nervous?
Yes. Well, my
Okay.
friends don't, but new friends do.
New friends. I
I
was
beg
just
my friends,
thinking, if I went
please
out for
don't
tea with
tell
you,
anybody. Please don't tell anybody because I don't want them weird about dinner. Honestly, I only give opinions to people who are paying me for it. Other than that, you can do, eat however you want.
I was thinking as we were talking, if we went out for tea, I think I'd be nervous. No, no,
No,
I'm
you shouldn't
not
be. I
joking.
will let you be. I promise.
Not
And we'd
not
have
not
a
because
good
I
time.
well, I'm joking. I'm really joking about my skills, but I just I really enjoy you. I enjoy talking with you, and I'm grateful that you could make the time today. And for our viewers, please share Cheryl's story, share her business, drop it into a conversation that you're having with someone
Please.
today. I'm sure you learned something, to make you look at life a little bit
I
differently,
hope
and
so.
that's
I
the
hope
whole
so.
point of YWTV for sure.
Thank
And stay tuned with YW. Lots of great events coming, but we'll be back with lots of wonderful YWTV episodes for you
Wow.
next week. Bye,
Wow.
everyone. Thank you.